Am I in focus?
Press something okay?
Excuse me?
Press something okay?
Sure.
Look at this. Go ahead.
Felix is asleep on his paperwork. Hello, my name is Marie. I like to make stuff, and then I like to turn around and show you how I made that stuff. Welcome to my channel. So today, we're gonna make these earrings. All right, let me show you a close-up of that. So they look like this, dangly. You have a combination of a chain, some beads, some wire wrapping there. And what is this? It is a copper shell. Shut the front door. So that's what we're doing today. So let's make this earring. Okay, so these are the supplies that we're gonna need for this project. Of course, we're gonna need our pliers here. Then we are going to need some 20 gauge for our earring wire, 24 gauge for our wire wrapping around the beads. So I have these beads that I have on hand, but I will put those, an equivalent of them in the supplies in the link below. And then we have these magical things. Let me pull a couple out real quick so that you can see them. They are like seashells. Like, this is what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like on the outside. Like, when I saw these, I said, I have to have these. I have to. So we only need 2 of these. Set those aside. And also, we're not going to need these because we're not doing jump rings. So these are the supplies right here. We're also going to need a little bit of chain. I will find the equivalent and put it in the description box below. I'm going to set this over here. We have our 2 seashells, which are straight up wonderful. So the first thing we're going to do, we have our little bit of 24 gauge wire here. So grabbing your 24 gauge wire, I am just going to pull out a little bit, okay? I want to keep it on here because it just, to me, it's just easier to work with. I don't know why. It just is. I can tell what end is what because you have this end and then you have this end. So I don't know. It's just the way I work. You can cut it off if you want to. That's up to you. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to string on your components. So when you string on your components, first, you're going to string on your shell. Just find out in your mind, just figure out which way you want it to hang, because I have mine hanging from for some reason, this earring, I have it hanging from the smaller end. And I think this one I had, when I looked at it last, it was hanging from the wider end. Yes, yes, that's just how I do. Okay, just find out which end you want it to be hanging from, and I'm just going to slip it on there because it can move. It doesn't matter how you put it on there. Just make sure you just put it on the wire here. So we start with the shell first. Then we're going to be using 3 beads on each earring. So string on your 3 beads. Okay, so now when it comes to the wire, it all depends on how long you want your earrings to dangle. So I'm not going to sit here and get my magnifying glass to show you how many links I have on here, but I'm just going to guess that I have about 10. And I also can just take the wire right here, lay it up against the earring that I already have and I like the length of. Well, I kind of don't like the length of it. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. So it looks like it's about right here, but I'm going to go up like maybe this much and I'm just going to cut it off there. And what you do with it is, okay. No one died in the room? Okay, good. Yeah. Just try to make sure you hold it, because I didn't do that just now and I could have killed a cat. So I got this little tiny little piece of chain here. So I'm gonna lay the chain next to each other so I can tell how long I want it and get somewhere in the ballpark. You don't have to be perfect. And I'm gonna put my hand over top of it so it has nowhere to go. So let me see, how is it? Yeah, they're fairly close. So I just wanted a little bit of chain to hang down, and rub it in between your fingers just to make sure you have, because these loops are so tiny. If you look at it, they're so tiny that, you know, you just want to make sure that you don't have a loop just hanging there. And then I'm going to string that on here. Boom. Okay. So this is what it should look like. You have your shell, you have your 3 beads, and you have a little piece of chain here. Okay. So now the next thing you're going to do, move stuff out of the way and make sure you keep your other piece of chain safe. And of course I use these little triangles. I'm going to put that in the description box below in the supplies. So I'm going to take my really, really tiny loopers here. And this is the part, just like I explained in my beaded chain video, that you want to keep your loops uniform. Otherwise you'll have one bigger, one smaller, and you'll be able to see that when you're wearing your earring and someone says, "Ooh, that's a pretty earring," and it will look really wonky. You'll be able to see all those little big loops and small loops, and it won't look so uniform up close. So we're going to try to keep everything uniform. Okay. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to grab my wire in between my pliers here, and I'm just going to wrap it around my pliers. And you got to keep in mind too, if you look at your pliers here, you got the top end right here is graduating. So, you know, it's the loop that it's going to make depends on where you're putting the wire on the pliers. So I'm putting it about right here, and I'm just tightening it around it with my fingers, and it makes a uniform circle. Okay. So now that you have that, you're going to pull up your chain, which is the next thing that's on this wire. Okay. Just going to pull the chain up and pull it into the loop. Next, you're going to take your pliers and put the pliers into the loop where you have it, where you wrapped it. Okay. So now you have it on the pliers like this. Now you're going to take that end and you're going to wrap it around, just like in my beaded chain video. You're going to wrap it around, and like we've done before, we're going to make sure that we wrap it around 3 times. That's the same thing when I'm talking about keeping everything uniform. You're going to want to make sure you keep all your loops uniform, along with your little circles that you make and all your wrapping of the wire. Everything needs to be uniform. Otherwise, it's just not going to look uniform at all. Okay, so now that you have it wrapped around 3 times, cut that wire and make sure you hold it so you don't lose an eye. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to pull up a bead. Okay, so you pull up a bead, then you're going to take your pliers here, and then you're going to hold it in between the pliers. Then you're going to take this wire right here and you're just going to pull it towards you. Okay. Then you're going to rotate it so that you can put the pliers right on the bend. And then you're going to just twist your hand into a circle as you're forming this circle with this wire. And what I like to do is, once I form the circle, I like to look at it and see if the 2 circles are the same. They're fairly the same. And then I'm going to take this wire, which is coming off right here, and I'm going to take it and I'm just going to wrap it around. There you go. And it should look like this. Now we're going to cut. We're going to take our flesh cutters. Did I say flesh cutters or flush cutters? It's flush. Listen, you're not helping.
Got a little nervous there.
And this is what you should have left, okay? So now you have a bead in your chain. So sit those down on your working mat here. And then we're going to do the same thing. Grab our wire in between our pliers. Wrap it around to make a nice little uniform loop. Like that. Sometimes I like to take the other one I just did and put it next to each other just to make sure that they're uniform or close. It doesn't have to be really perfect, just as long as you don't have a loop as big as your eyeball. So now we have our loop here. Now we're going to grab our loop, our bead, and our chain, and on the end where the bead is, there's a loop. Slip that on right here. So now it's on and it's hanging. Just let it hang. Grab your pliers, put the pliers into this loop right here, and then you're going to take this end and you're going to wrap it around. Make sure you do it 3 times, and then you're going to cut the wire with our flush cutters. Boop. And so you should have this. Now, the next thing you're going to do is going to pull up another bead. Like that. Grab our pliers. Okay. And then we're going to take the wire and pull it towards us like this. Rotate your hand so that the pliers are on top of that bend. Take this wire, wrap it around to form a loop. Now take your loop looping pliers out and look at your loops to make sure that they're uniform or close. This one's a little bit smaller than it should be. So I'm going to open it up a little bit, push it down my pliers. And now look at the loops, and they're basically the same or close, better than it was before. Then we're going to take this wire that we have going down here. We're going to take this and we're going to start wrapping it around. Make sure you do it 3 times. Boom. Now we're going to take our cutters and we're going to cut off that end. If you have a little bit sticking up, you can just push it down. Now this is what we should have here, okay? So now you're going to set that aside onto your mat. Grab our pliers. Now, next step we're going to do is we are going to grab the wire in between our pliers, loop it around, compare our loops here, make sure they're the same, then put the end where the bead is on, grab our pliers again, put it into our loop that we're working on, and then we're going to close it. Then I'm going to cut it. After I wrapped it 3 times, I'm going to cut it, making sure that I don't have any wires loose, and I'm going to cut it and hold it at the same time. Pull up my last bead, grab my pliers, pull the wire towards me, rotate my hand and rotate the pliers so that it's at the top of the bend. Wrap your wire around your pliers. And I like to look at my loops really quick to make sure that they are uniform or close to being uniform. They are. Then I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to take my cutters. And now, this is what we should have. So we're going to set this down. Then we are going to do another loop, okay? Grab our pliers, wrap them around, wrap the wire around those pliers. I like to look at the loop, make sure it's uniform, and then the end that has the beads on it, just like we've been doing for the last 3 beads, we're going to put it on the loop. And as you can see, the loops are fairly similar, so that's good. Put pliers back in, and then we're going to take the end and wrap it around 3 times. 2 and 3. Okay. So then I'm going to take my cutters and cut that off. Okay. Now we're going to grab our little seashell. Now this is the part where you're like, oh, what should I do? I'm just laying the wire. As I pull it up, I'm laying the wire right in that opening. So, I mean, you can do this opening or the other opening. See how easy it was just to, you know, turn it around. I don't know. I'm just going to do the, that's the wider end. So I'm going to do the wider end so that the pointier small end is at the end of it. I don't know. I don't have any science to this. I'm just going to do it. And so once I have that laying there like that, I'm going to hold it, making sure that the wire is laying flat inside of this. And I'm going to pull the wire up. Because all we're trying to do is wrap this wire, almost like looping it so that it's hanging. Looping it so it's hanging, okay? Because as you can see, at the top here, right here is the loop that we just did with the wire wrapping. The wire is coming down and inside of this shell and wrapping out and coming out the back, okay? So that's what it looks like, okay? So now what I like to do is, I think from this point, I think I'm going to take my pliers like this and just hold it, I'm just trying to hold the loop straight so that it's not moving all over the place, because this wire really isn't all that thick and tough, but it's tough enough to do wire wrapping with it. So I'm trying to get this so that it's as straight as possible and just pulling it. So I have to cover this real quick. Then I'm going to take my wire down just to make sure that it's out of the way. And then we are going to start, take my pliers, hold it. It will get a little, it takes a lot of patience. So just hold on to it. And then I'm going to take this wire right here and I'm just going to wrap it kind of near, I'm trying to wrap it near the wraps that I did already. So I'm just wrapping it around so that, oops. And this part doesn't have to be neat. And I'm wrapping it and it's trying to go up, and that's okay. Just wrap it enough that it is secure. So I'm gonna cut the wire. I feel like it would be easier if I cut the wire at this point. And I'm just wrapping it because there's like this little space. There's this little space here. So I'm just wrapping the wire into that space and securing it so it doesn't fall out or come loose. That's what I like about this wire too. It like soon as you like wrap it, it like falls into any openings that you might have left. Then you can take your pliers in that loop area and just squeeze it just like this. I'm just squeezing it so that all the loops are together. And I just made a little loop. Now I'm going to take this wire and get it. That's why we call these flush, because it gets you can get it really flush in with your loops. And just hold your wire and then cut. Make sure you don't cut any of the wires that you might need. And this is what it should look like. Not very neat, but you know, it is what it is. And if you have any extra, I have some wire sticking up here, so I'm gonna smush that down, because smushing is a technical term. And then I'm smushing that down just like that, and then now it should be like uniform. And you have your little cute little dangly. That's the back of it. Okay, that's still the back of it. Okay. So you should have your little dangly. That's what it should look like. Okay. And now we're going to set this aside just for a little bit. We're going to set aside our 24 gauge wire, and now we're going to grab our 20 gauge wire. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pliers, doing the same thing that we did before, but I think I want to have a little bit more wire. So I'll say like 1.5 inches, grab down a little bit. Then we're going to wrap this around and put the end underneath this wire. Okay. This wire is on top. This wire is underneath. Okay. And form a nice little loop. So now you have a little loop. Nothing crazy. Then you are going to take your end that has the chain. Okay. What I like to do is I like to hold it. I like to hold it just like this, and then slip it on to the wire. Be patient with it. Don't get mad. Be calm, cool, and collected, and eventually it gets on there. Okay. So then you're going to pull that all the way up until it gets onto your loop. So now we pulled it down so that it's on the loop and dangling down now. Okay. Now I'm going to take my flats pliers and I'm going to hold the loop flat just like this. Then we're going to take this wire, make sure that this wire is over top now, and you start wrapping it in place. And what you're doing is you're holding that loop in place so it's formed. Okay. Now with the wire, as you can see, the wire is pointed down, and we're still holding this, so that means that this is flat and this is flat down. Okay. Then we're going to take this wire right here and we're going to push it up. Okay. So now we have this, makes it look like a long piece here. Looks fairly flush. Okay. Now we're going to take our fingers and we're just going to run them down the wire, just forming a little loop. Okay. Now at this point you can just put your pliers down, you don't need it. And then you're just going to push and form it into a shape of earring wire. You can put your earring wire as large or as small as you want it. We always did large earring wire, but for this I'm going to do the earring wire really, really tiny. Okay. So I'm going to push it down and see how tiny that's getting. Because normally my earring wire is like this big, but I am making it really, really tiny. Okay. So now that I have it as tiny as I want it to be, okay, this is what it should look like. You have the wire down here, which is this whole thing right here. Then you have this end. So now this end right here that's coming from here, we're going to take it and we're going to fold it around that, like that, okay? Then we're going to take this end right here with this working wire that we're still using and bend it up, okay? And you're going to cut it right on the bend. Holding both pieces at once. So now you have this long piece right here. Now this is just the closure piece. This isn't very important, but if you want the earrings to work, you do need that little loop there, okay? But you want the loop to not be way back here or way back here. Like this, we don't need all this. We just need a little bit of a loop to catch this end. We just need a little bit of loop to catch this end right here. So we are going to cut it until it's a little itty bitty loop, okay? Holding the wire at the same time. Now you can open it and close it. Open and close, okay? So there you go. That is your earring. Now let's see the difference. Let me see the difference of the length of, because this is the one that I have in my ear over here is a longer one. Let's see if there's any difference. Oh, okay. There's a bit of a difference. I like this one better. Look at how long it is and how short it is. So this is the shorter one. This is the longer one. Okay, I like you. All right, but anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Make sure that you go to the videos that I have in the cards that pop up on the top of my screen. I also will link at the top of the screen right about here. I will be linking in my entire jewelry playlist. And then of course, in the description box below, I have all the supplies for you that you would need to accomplish this. As always, don't hesitate to send me a quick email if you need to. Send me a quick comment if you need to, if you have any questions. And if you make your particular earrings, I really, really want to see them, to see if I can actually teach somebody to do something and it actually looks like what I did. I would love to see that. That really makes my day whenever people take a picture of what they created using my video and then they tag me in it on Instagram. I would love that. This is the name of my Instagram right up in here. So check me out. Like, subscribe, comment, all the other stuff we say in our YouTube videos. And if you don't want to subscribe, that's okay. Like I always say, make sure that you at least like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, then okay. I'll be a little sad. Yeah, I would be sad. But it's okay. It's okay to not like something. It's okay to say, no, I don't like it. And that's okay. That's cool. But don't give me a thumbs down. Be nice. Be nice and stuff. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this video. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Bye.